If you want, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be all about the books that I've read throughout the month of July, and we're going to talk about the ones I'm currently reading too. During the month, I finished 9 books. At DNF, so did not finish 6 officially, and it was a month of extreme. Let's just go with that. I found 4 5-star books, which is, I feel like this year I've been really struggling to find favorite books. But I've also been struggling through my Read It or Unhaul It challenge, which is why I got rid of so many books too, because I was picking randomly books from the little bag with all the papers, and a lot of them turned out to not be great. So as much as it was painful for me to go through, it was good to clean up the shelf, and it was very entertaining apparently. The only book that I finished in that video was this one, which is Hyperion, a classic adult sci-fi. I say that because I thought this was older. This was published in 89. I feel like classic sci-fi are like 50s, 60s. Anyway, I read it out of sheer stubbornness. That's the only reason I finished it, because I wanted to know what the hype was about. I feel like you see it so often on like must-read adult sci-fi, classic, will change your life kind of thing. And I wasn't planning on reading more by the author anyway because of some of the statements he has done. To be honest, I'm not someone that tends to separate the author from their work. So I did go into it with open mind, and frankly, I found it really boring. There are essentially 6 stories that are told while the characters go through their journey, and the first one was interesting, the 4th one was okay, and the rest were really boring. Also, the only female character is there for a specific reason. I'm trying to be vague because of spoilers. I can totally tell you in the comment section. It's a personal pet peeve of mine. I freaking hate when women are there just for these kind of reasons. And yeah, I just found the writing quite tedious, and I thought this could be read as a standalone, but no. The ending is quite underwhelming on its own, and I'm not planning on reading more. So I did finish it, but it will go on my unhaul shelf. So in that video, I unhauled a lot of books, but you know, cleaning up the shelf, it's good. The next book I finished was an audiobook, and it's How High We Go in the Dark, which is an adult dystopian post-apocalyptic book. This was quite different from all of the other ones that I've read. It's kind of a short story collection-ish, but they're like related. There's a bacteria that is found in the Arctic, and it just starts spreading, and you kind of jump in timeline, like following different characters in the future, during, after the pandemic, and way in the future of the pandemic. And at first I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I listened to it as an audiobook, and for some reason it kind of gave me vibe a little bit of like, I don't want to say magical realism, because usually magical realism does not work for me, but there was something a little magical about it, and I just found myself really intrigued and wanting to continue. For me, one of the stories that really stuck with me was the one about the park, the theme park. How did she get so high? Oh, it's Charlie. Not surprising. Never mind. He will climb. This is him on the top of my stove. I don't know how you call that in English. La hotte. That cat is a panther. Anyway, the one with the roller coaster where the children go there to, it's stuck in my mind absolutely forever. So I think I'm gonna round it up to a 4 because it was quite unique, but usually I'm not a fan of like short stories, but this one worked, and I can completely understand the hype. I mean, it's not super popular, but there's a little hype, and I agree. You know what? Let's go with the 5 stars, okay? Because I can't. I suck at finishing series. We're just gonna say it. And I finished one, and I continued one, and like, those are all the 5 stars. Let's start with my favorite one, okay? Okay. Adult fantasy series. I read Jade City 2 years ago, I want to say. Probably more. I'll put it on the screen. A little while ago, and I just never continued because I get overwhelmed, and like I said, I don't finish series. But this month, I finished Jade War and Jade Legacy, and I'm so sad. I am feeling the worst reading hangover that I've had in a while. I just finished this one, and I didn't cry, but my eyes got misty a couple times because, oh my god, I think the strength of this series is 100% the characters. I found myself so invested in them, so much more than I expected. For anyone who doesn't know, there are 2 clans in this city that are fighting for control. Think a little gangster, but not really. A lot of fighting, and the magic system is super interesting. And I found that the world got much bigger in book 2 and then even bigger in book 3. I couldn't go to bed until I finished the last 50 pages of book 2. And yeah, this one was a journey, okay? Because some sections were so freaking painful that I didn't want to continue. And things just ended up making sense. And I don't want to say happy about the ending. I'm satisfied. I do think it makes sense. there you go. I'm not happy, okay? I'm never gonna be happy. I'm so heartbroken over it. But the world, the timeline, everything just gets bigger and bigger with each book. And yeah, the author's not scared to break your heart, and 5 stars, both of them. This is officially one of my all-time favorite adult fantasy series. But man, this was painful. This one, oh my God, can you just chill a little bit? I'm having an emotional moment here, and the kids are destroying the background. But yes, so good. So good. Please read these. But prepare the tissues, because every book was so painful. But the third one, it was 700 pages. But oh my gosh, I still want to cry about it when I think about it too much. Anyway, the other series, just as emotional, really. This is the Neapolitan. I don't know what that was. Neapolitan Quartet. So this is book 2 and book 3. You might have heard of book 1, which is My Brilliant Friend. This is kind of historical fiction, literally fiction. You're following these 2 women and their whole friendship throughout their whole life. Basically, one of them disappeared, and the other one is writing their whole story in the hope that she will come back. And book 2, you're following them from 17 to like mid-20s, and then further in book 3. Book 3 became a lot more like political. There's a lot about, again, the historical context, I'm assuming, a lot about communist and fascism movement in Italy. Did I say it was set in Italy? Italy? Why can I not? Did I even mention it was set in Italy? Anyway, these female characters are driving me nuts. They keep making decisions that make me want to just shake them, but I feel like that's what makes it so realistic, because I read that quote in the vlog, but I need to mention it again because I feel like it's just exactly what the author is doing. I spoke of the necessity of recounting frankly every human experience, including, I said emphatically, what seems unsayable and what we do not speak of even to ourselves. And that's exactly what she's doing. And that's why it's so frustrating, because yes, it's so real, but so, and yeah, I don't even know who I'm rooting for. At this point, I've just given up on like choosing one of them that I like more than the other. I'm just watching the train wreck, quite frankly. They've had rough life. Basically, they started really poor in this small neighborhood, and they're trying to escape by all means necessary, and it's going. So yes, both of them 5 stars. I have one more book left in this series, and I'm expecting a heartbreak for me again. But it would be another series finish, so there's that. Our Patreon book club book of the month of July was The Memory Police, which this is such a cool cover. This was a bit strange. I would call this also dystopian. This was giving me a little bit vibes of 1984 or The Handmaid's Tale because of the dystopian vibes, or maybe even Fahrenheit 451, that kind of vibe. The only thing is, with all of these books, including this one, I find myself really distant from the story and the characters. I feel like they don't necessarily show a lot of emotion, whether it's on purpose or not, depending on the book. So I really struggle to care. In this one, you're following this woman, and she lives on this island where things disappear. And there's the memory police making sure that people, burn whatever it is. Like, for example, pen don't exist. So you have to, like, destroy all the pens and forget they exist. And it just keeps becoming more and more intense, and then there are people that remember, which the police is going after them, so they're trying to hide, and like, it sounds like it's going to be action driven, but it's really, really not. And I feel like there's a big message behind it, and I ended up Googling. Because when you finish a book and you're like, am I just dumb? Because I feel like there's an important message and I don't feel like I'm really getting it. And I'm sure we can all figure out meanings behind it, but I found myself, like I said, quite detached. The ending becomes a bit, I want to say magical realism, but not in a good way. And yeah, I just felt a bit underwhelmed by the whole thing. So I'm giving it 3 stars. I think it's an interesting concept, like a good idea, but I just found myself too detached, and I had issues with some of the characters, which again would be a spoiler, which I could happily complain about in the comment section. But yeah, it wasn't for me. Interesting concept. I do like the overall idea, but I just felt too detached from it. Another audiobook I finished was Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism, which, listen, I've been trying to read more nonfiction, and when I see some that catch my eye with these kind of catchy titles at the library, I picked them up. This is a nonfiction, like I said, and it's the author exploring the intersection between feminism and socialism and how women are happier when they have financial independence. That's the overall gist. Obviously, again, the title makes it very eye-catching, but she has spent her whole life looking into this topic, and I do think she does a really good job at explaining it in a succinct way. The audiobook is about 6 hours though, so it's very much an introduction into the topic, but I feel like if you just want to look into it, I do think this was really interesting. It's not just surrounding sex, but I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand. So yes, would recommend this. I would give it 5 stars. The next audiobook I finished was This Time Tomorrow, which this is technically sci-fi, but is it? It's almost contemporary, I feel like, even though there's time traveling. You have this woman, and she is about to turn 40, and she wakes up in her 16-year-old body, which I love that trope, people reliving their day or their lives over and over. And she is there trying to decide, okay, like she wasn't really happy with the way her life had been. Her father is dying. She is stuck in a job that she doesn't really like. Basically, she still works in her high school, and she gets to see the other students that got, you know, rich, blah, blah, and she's just stuck being single, no kids, and not sure what happened with her life, how she feels about it. So she kind of gets to, you know, switch things up if she wants to. So really interesting concept. I don't know how I feel about her in her 16-year-old body having sex with other people, because that feels wrong. That feels wrong. Like, even if the other people might not have been minors, it feels wrong. That's a tiny thing in the book, but that's something that really stuck with me. But for some reason, I didn't feel like it was quite for me, because again, it felt more contemporary really than sci-fi. But if you're someone that has enjoyed books, like I'm thinking Before I Fall, is that the one? That one is a YA book. But if you like that concept of trying to, you know, see if you can change your life, but like in a very contemporary way, I would check it out. But for me, I found it a little bit underwhelming. I would give it 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad at all. I just kind of wanted more, I guess. And yeah, I DNF'd a million books. So let's focus now on the ones that I'm currently reading. Nonfiction, because I'm trying to read some more. Men Who Hate Women, the extremism nobody's talking about. This is about incels and how men hating women. I've only read the first chapter, which was 60 pages. I really appreciate how the author voices and straight away starts explaining that the normal excuses that we hear, how, oh, you know, it's just online, it's just a minority, it doesn't really affect people in real life, is such a lie. I'm so sick of hearing about it, because if you look at it properly, it's not just stuck online. And like, even if it's online, like it's affecting people. I mean, on YouTube, I experience a lot of it. And every time I've talked about this book in a video, I've had to block people. I've had to block men being angry that I'm talking about incels and I'm not giving them a chance. Dude, that's never gonna happen. With that said, the author basically went on a mission for a while, just pretending to be a member and kind of seeing how easily you can go into this rabbit hole of the extreme right and just hating women online. So yes, she does mention she will not sugarcoat the quotes, so do be warned. I don't think this is something I could binge read. That's why I've only read the first chapter, and I did that throughout multiple days. It's rough, but I do think that this is something that must be, you know, spoken about, hence the whole like nobody's talking about it. It's a rough one, because even the author, she published this book in 2020 and mentioned that she was glad that she posted that during the pandemic, because she got so many threats that probably would have been dangerous to go on a tour. So yeah, so far really enjoying it. I've read in the book by the author entitled, which was also fantastic. So looking forward to finishing this. I've also started Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I am listening to it so far as an audiobook, although I did put a few post-its with some of the interesting quotes. So far, I would say this is more about farming and horses than expected, but I've heard that it's a little bit the same case in War and Peace, so I should have expected it. But yes, I'm intrigued. I'm about 20% into it, and so far I'm enjoying it. I thought I was going to be more confused about all the characters. I feel like a lot of Russian names tend to have multiple names. They can be like a little overwhelming. I'm really terrible with names in books, but so far, so good. We'll see. And like I said, physical book, I just finished Jade Legacy, and now I'm going to start, I'm looking at it right now, Fort Wing. I'm doing that today, because it was highly requested. This is going to be a Booktube made me do it, and I'm expecting the worst. So that's it. These are the books that I finish throughout the month of July. So 9 officially, and like 6 more that went on my unhauled bookshelf. That was a mess. Really a month of extreme, like I said. Either got rid of the books or 4 of them got 5 stars, which is the most I think I've given in a month in forever. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. Please let in the comment section if you have read any of these. Feel free to discuss them in the comment section so I can discuss it with you. And I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you in an upcoming one very soon. Bye.